Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at paths in Python. So what are paths? Paths are, as you can see in this picture, a way of getting somewhere. However, in computing, that's specifically to a file. So when you go to a web page, you put all those slashes at the end, and that's the path to that web page. And when you're saving and loading files, you need to use the correct path so that you select the correct file. And the way we're going to do this is using OS, the OS module, the os.path submodule, and glob, which we'll have a look at. So the first thing is we're going to import OS and list the directories. And you can see all these files I have saved in this directory. We can also check if a path exists. So we can see if this file exists as py or ipynb. And you can see that the py file doesn't, but the notebook does. We can also get the size. So we can see the size of this current folder is 28,672 bytes. And if you're unaware, the dot is saying the current directory, and then dot dot is the directory above. And so you can see that the current directory isn't a file, because it's a directory. However, this file is. And we can see that this directory is a directory, but this file isn't, using isdir or isfile. We can also get the absolute path, and you can see it's this, which is exactly the same as this down here. Another thing the path module allows you to do is get common paths. So we can see that these are both user and then they change, and so we'd expect the common path to be /user, and it is. And likewise here we'd expect the common prefix to be /user again, but actually it's /user/l, because it's taking the start and saying, what's the common prefix. Because if you were typing this in and you typed in /user/l, it still wouldn't be clear which one you were going to. We can also get the directory name. So if we have this folder /user/bin/bash, and we want the directory name, tells us it's /user/bin, because bash is actually a file. It just doesn't have an extension. And then we can combine that with the split, and it tells us the directory name and the file name. So home George documents is the directory, and then file is the name of the file. We can then do the opposite of split and join different paths. So if these are all folders, we then join them together to get home/George/documents/file. And so that's quite useful if you want your user to select a specific file, but you want to make sure that you don't have the wrong slashes, because on some operating systems, backslashes won't work, and on some forward slashes won't work, which is a bit confusing. You can also create directories. So we're going to create the directory test, and it's created. And obviously you can't see it that clearly, so I'll just type in ls. And you can see that here we have this directory test. We can also make other directories, so we can create the directory test/folder/data. And now if we go into test, we can do a tree. And you can see that we've got this folder and then this data. And however, if we then run this cell again, you see we get an error because we cannot create something that already exists. So instead, what we can do, so you can see that it's tried to create this that already exists. So if we want to check whether something already exists, we can use this exist_ok equal true, and that means now it will create it, but actually it's not going to do anything because they already exist. This is a good way of just creating stuff without worrying. And then we can remove the directories. We might get an error, so I'm going to exit here, and it will delete test/folder/data, and we can no longer enter the directory. So if we do ls again, we can see that tree is no longer there. The other thing that's really cool is glob. So glob is great for searching for files. So if we import glob, we then do glob.glob, and we look for anything that ends in .py. And you can see, all of these different files that end in .py. And we can also do the same with .ipynb. And you can see there are all these notebooks in this folder. And so Glob makes it really useful for you to search, for example, specific file extensions in maybe a certain subfolder. So you can see that working with paths in Python is fairly simple. There are lots of different things you can do to make it as easy as possible. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video, learnt about paths, and I'll see you again, same time next week. Till then.